All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathaniel Rowe. I just wanted to try to make this little video for you. Hopefully it's short. Just kind of explaining to you guys how we do math a little bit differently here at Buckingham Collegiate Charter Academy. One of the first things to know is that a lot of our math teachers here choose to do math in what we call a flipped classroom. And a lot of people aren't familiar with this term. It is a pretty new term. But this is the basic idea of a flipped classroom, is that first, let's talk about what a traditional classroom is. A traditional classroom, you do the lectures in class, you take notes in class, then you go home and you maybe do some homework problems out of a math book. You try to get your parents to help you with it, but sometimes they can help you with it and sometimes they can't. And so maybe if you're able to get your homework done, at home, you're successful. And if you're not able to get your homework done, then you kind of fall farther and farther behind. So what a flipped classroom does is it flips that old model, and it says, actually what we're going to do is we are going to do the lectures at home via a video. So all my lectures in my Math 2 class, my calculus class are all on YouTube. Students watch those lectures at home. They are expected to take notes in the guided notebooks that we provided. Then they come to class with a basic understanding of the material already present. If they've watched the video and if they've taken notes like they're supposed to, they do already have a basic knowledge. Now, usually class is going to start off with me answering some questions that maybe came up from these notes, some things that maybe weren't so clear in just the video, because of course they weren't able to ask me questions while they watched at home. They were able to rewind though and maybe see if there was something that they missed. They have a lot of access to that information, but we want to clear things at the beginning of class. Then the actual class time, majority of the actual in-class time is spent with the students practicing those math problems. Independently in the classroom, but they have the support of their peers and of course the support of me, their teacher, there to help them if they get stuck on different concepts. And so that's the generic explanation of what a flipped classroom is. And we think it's actually really successful because we think what it does is it allows the students who need that support on those practice problems that they wouldn't get always at home, they can get in the classroom. Doesn't stop them from getting that support at home or elsewhere, but it's just we think a better model to support our students. So here's just kind of a screenshot of one of my examples, what they look like. It's actually me writing on the screen, very much so how you're watching this video, me writing on the screen, explaining how I'm doing a problem. And then there's usually some type of practice problem that they try on their own. I use a web site called Puzzle that lets me put questions into the video, so it makes them pause, makes them answer the question, and then I get that data back on whether they were able to understand that concept or not. So that's just kind of a little glimpse of what the videos look like. Then in class, one of the primary ways or the things we use to assess students' work, or for students to actually practice their skills on, is the free website Khan Academy. And we are big fans of this site. It's gone through a lot of changes throughout the years, but it's been a really helpful tool both for teachers and for students. I want to explain a little bit about that, but I do want to just tell you there's some videos, other videos out there explaining kind of how Khan works and how to master skills and all that. So this is just going to be a brief overview. But the way Khan works is on a given day, I can assign a skill or multiple skills. Just today, actually, in my class, I assigned this skill, density word problems. And the students are working on this in class. Their goal is to finish this skill. And what I mean by finish that skill is that they need to score at least 70% correct on a trial. So a trial usually consists of 4 questions, maybe as much as 7 questions, but they need to get 70% correct until they're considered finished. A lot of times students on their own will go back until they get 100%. And the reason for that is it automatically helps them in the mastery process. Again, the mastery process is something, there are some videos out there explaining that. I have a video on my YouTube page. I'll try to link to this on how to master Khan. But that's another big part of Khan because they don't just practice it. This is the daily practice that just like what you would do for your homework in an older style classroom. But they also go back and they master it. And that means they're practicing it multiple times to the point that they really, truly understand and master the material. Where ideally they're doing that before they take a quiz or a test. And then when I say a quiz or test, I mean like the quiz or test that we write in class. Khan has its own quizzes and tests built into the material, and that's actually how they challenge students to master the material. So like you can see here, level up on the above skills and collect up to 300 mastery points. It means that there's 3 skills that if they take this quiz, they can level up on or gain mastery on. And then the units test here is would check on all 9 of the skills, so 900 mastery points, 100 points per skill, all 9 of the skills that we covered this entire chapter, and that's going to allow them to master that material. And the way this works is if they get it right, it moves them up in mastery, but if they get it wrong, it moves them down. And the purpose of that is this is really supposed to be like an assessment, right? Like a quiz checking to see, do you know this material or not? And if you don't know the material, students get really frustrated because it'll mark them down. But what that means to us and to Khan Academy is that, well, you probably need more practice with that skill. And so that's the purpose of this, is saying, okay, you're not quite mastered on that one yet. Maybe you need to practice it more. Come back again and try this again. It's really important that students do this on a regular basis. A lot of times students will obviously just do this the night before it's due, and it doesn't work out so well for them when they do it that way. So we highly recommend this is something they're looking at and trying to master on a regular basis to kind of continually move towards a direction of mastery. One of the last things I want to talk about that we do that's I think very unique, and we were able to do this because of our flipped classroom and because we use Khan Academy, is we have a system in place to really allow students to pass and master material at their own pace. There's nothing we can really do about the semester system. That's a statewide mandate and how we have to put things into transcripts and all of that. However, we do have an ability to say we want students to demonstrate their mastery to us when they are ready to demonstrate their mastery to us. So in a traditional path, and we will do this in our classroom still, halfway through a semester, they'll take a quarter exam. And then at the end of the semester, they'll take another quarter exam. We'd call that the semester 1 final. Well, and semesters are separate, so you can kind of imagine these like separated here. But this final exam, the quarter 2 exam, since it's cumulative, since it covers the entire semester, it actually has the ability to replace this quarter 1 exam. So let's say the student failed this quarter 1 exam. They got like, they did poorly. They got like a 50%. But then, you know what? They studied. They came back on the final. They got an 80%. We allow this final to replace that midterm or that quarter 1 exam. And that way, even if they didn't master the material right away, but they got it mastered by the end of the semester, their grade can still reflect that. The other thing that we do is that students are allowed to retake these exams, both of them, both the midterm and the final. And the final works a little bit differently, but the midterm, both of these, in order to retake them, we want to first see that students have mastered 80% of the corresponding Khan Academy skills. The reason for that is kind of obvious, right? We want them to pass these retakes. We want them to actually know the material before they go into retake. A lot of times students have not really practiced the material, and that's why they end up failing the exam. They don't really know it. So if they go back, they master the material, they maybe take a look at their study guide again, they're going to be a lot better equipped to pass it the second time through. So if a student, on the first retake, if a student was to get like a 50% the first time, and then they retake it and they get a 70%, well, then we would replace that with a 70% and that thing's gone. However, like I said, by the end of the semester, the final will replace it anyway. So during the last week of school, we don't even do retakes for the quarter exam, for the quarter 1 exam, because the quarter 2 would just replace it. Now, since this is the final, right? This is really the final exam here. When a student fails that, mathematically, it's really hard to pass the class, just with the way the class weights work and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to get, usually if a student fails this final exam, they're going to get an F in their report card for this semester. However, we still allow students to go back, master the Khan. When they're ready, they can retake this final exam. If they pass this final exam, we'll go back, we do a grade change, and we'll change that F to a passing grade so that it actually will change in their transcript. Something we do all the time, and we think the benefit of that is that students are still demonstrating to us that they know the material, they master the material, they have an adequate knowledge of the material. It's silly for us to force them to sit through a whole other year of the course if they actually know the material. And that is what will happen. If they don't end up passing both semesters, they will have to sit through another year of the course. Sometimes that's beneficial, but sometimes it could be a waste of the student's time if they realize, like, oh, you know what, I know what I did wrong. I can fix these mistakes. I'm just going to retake it and boom, change my grade. The same thing's true for the quarter 3 and quarter 4. This is just the second semester. So just to kind of give you an idea, this is this would be semester 1, or we could call this the fall semester. And then this is semester 2. And this is the spring semester. And these are independent courses, really. So we have a semester 1 of a math course and semester 2 of a math course. So a student could fail the first semester, pass the second. And if they don't go back and retake that final, they're going to have to retake the entire year. That's usually what's going to happen. Sometimes they'll just take the first semester and maybe transfer to an elective or something second semester. But usually they're going to end up just retaking the entire year. And obviously, we don't want the student to have to do that if they can really just demonstrate us that they understand the material on their own. Okay, so that's the baseline of everything that we do differently here at Buckingham that I really want you as parents to be aware of. If you have more questions about that, I encourage you to reach out to me at my email. I'm going to just write it right on here. It is Nathaniel R. And yeah, I spell my name A-E-L. That's right, I spell it the correct way. At VacavilleUSD.org. Okay? So if you got any follow-up questions to that, you want to understand how that works or how to better prepare for the upcoming year, please reach out to me. Happy to help you with that. I hope that's kind of helpful in explaining how we're just a little bit different than your traditional high school when it comes to mathematics. Other than that, see you guys around.